Okay, so we now have our drawing oriented the way we want. We have Corel Draw's paper just the way we want. It's fitting our drawing as it is now. We know how to do all that. We know how to manipulate the drawing. Now we need to actually clean the drawing up. There's a lot of useless junk on here that we don't actually need. We don't need to turn in a drawing to the city of whatever we're turning our drawing into, and giving out a whole bunch of information about pricing, about the survey that was there, what we're going to end up going back with, and getting rid of some of these markings that are on the drawing in general, as well as getting rid of architectural drawings and ceiling references and things that we don't need, that aren't important to us. So we're going to go into another program called Corel Paint. And CorelDRAW is good for manipulating a lot of things as far as we're concerned. It's good for adding objects onto the screen. We'll go over that later. And it's good for generally making sure things are to the right size. But as far as the editing of the drawing, we're going to need to take it somewhere else. So we're going to start by clicking on the drawing, putting it in selection mode just by clicking on it, right click, and clicking on Edit Bitmap. So this will bring us to Corel Photo Paint. It's labeled at the top. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that or not. But what we have here is, it's not loading up properly because of the fact that I'm recording this right now, but it'll load up the drawing as a bitmap because we clicked on Edit Object. What did we end up saying it as? Edit Bitmap. We clicked on Edit Bitmap on CorelDRAW. We opened it up in Photo Paint all by itself just by clicking that one button. You'll end up seeing it as a smaller window inside a bigger window. This actual bigger window is the actual control suite, while this little bubble window is inside of Corel Paint. And we can move this drawing around so that way we can actually see it better, but what we want to do is make it full screen. So that's made it full screen inside of the suite that is Photo Paint. And now we can move around just like we could with CorelDRAW, zooming in and out. And our grab does not work the same way it did over there. Here, just clicking down on the mouse wheel will put this cross in the middle. With this cross, you move up and you'll start moving up. You move down and you'll start moving down. When you're done, just let go. Okay, so now that we've had manipulating done, what we're going to want to do is figure out which drawing we want to use. Okay, so this is the floor plan over here on the left and the demo plan on the right. We don't need the demo plan, we want the floor plan. It's not as clean as we want, but we'll get to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to the selection tool, rectangle mask tool. We're going to go ahead and drag the rectangle mask tool over everything we want to select. I want to select all of these walls. I don't want a whole lot of white space, but I can deal with some. But just something to get us started, to make sure we get rid of all this extra stuff that we don't want. Okay, so I've dragged my square. I'm going to go up to the top. There's File, Edit, Image, View, Image. I want to go to Image. I want to go down to Crop. It's closer to the bottom. And I want to crop to mask. It's an option there. Click that, and we've automatically cropped out everything other than that rectangle we drew. So this is sideways now. I like looking at my drawings the way they're supposed to be. So what this is going to end up doing, we need to rotate it. We're going to go again up to the top. Sometimes you'll have to mouse over the images, or I suppose the tabs, just so that way you can get them to highlight to actually see what the labels are. So we're going to go back over to image. I'm going to go to rotate 90 degrees clockwise. And that's going to set me right back to where I was, and I have the drawing just as I want it. I can read all the labels and things. That one's pretty bad actually. Can't really read that one at all. I know what it says, but I would like it to be cleaner. So we're going to fix that. We're going to get rid of all these marks and everything else. So we have it the size we want. Now we need to start erasing and cleaning up everything. Okay, so let's start with this little V in a circle and an N. I don't want that there. I know what my layout's going to be. I don't need it to be on my drawing in a pencil. So I'm going to go over here, grab the eraser tool, click on it, and it's going to switch to the eraser tool now. Now I have this little circle I can use to erase things as soon as I click, but I can do other things with it. For example, over here is my brush shape and nibs. So what I'm going to do is I don't like the square nib very much. It's useful for some things but not others. I typically stick with a round nib. What I will almost always change is this nib shape. And this is probably because of the fact that I have a fresh installation, but you should pretty much make sure that you're using the same thing too. This nib that they have, if you can kind of see, it kind of washes out towards the edges, and it's solid in the center. I don't like that. If I'm going to be erasing something, I want it to either be completely erased or not at all. I don't need any fading or things like that. We're not in that kind of artistry that we're trying to do. If you are, then use what you need, but I pretty much like these solid circles. These are just basic sizes, 5, 10, 50, 100, but you're free to create whichever one you want. I like to start with the 10, see how that looks to me. For this particular drawing and these markings, I need a little bit of a bigger one. So I'm going to go ahead, I've already chosen this. If I wanted to, I could go through and choose 100 or whatever, but as you've seen right here, all it does is change the number here. I can go here, and just to leave it on the screen, I'm going to type in 300. And as soon as I hit enter, the circle is going to change on the screen. So the circle changed by disappearing. As soon as I wiggle my mouse, I can see my new nib eraser. So this is now a 300 size, and this is way too big for me. In fact, 100 was too big for me. So I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to do, we'll say, 50. And 50 seems about good. It's enough for me to get all these little details in here without messing up any other markings I don't want to mess with. For example, we're going to pretend that this 05 is something I want to keep. I don't really need it, but I just want to leave it there just so that way I don't mess with it. I'm going to zoom in to the 0 or the circle with the V in it and the N. I'm just going to click down, and you can see as soon as I clicked, it created a circle which is pure white. Now some cases you won't be able to use this tool because you'll have beige backgrounds or things of that sort. We'll go over that in a little bit. But for now, I'm just going to either click or hold to erase it all. The difference between clicking and holding is something we'll go over here in a second. So let's say I click here and I'm still holding, I'm dragging, and for some reason something scares me, or I just twitch or something, and I erase this column. Oh no, I did all that work and now I can't do anything because I have to undo it. As soon as I undo, the entire swipe goes away. So I can do this over and over again, and it'll just do that whole swipe. So as soon as I let go, it creates it as a new undo spot. So I clicked here once, and I clicked here once. So I didn't want to click there. So if I undo that, I will only undo that. For example, again, I click that, I click over here. I want to undo this, but not this. Because I clicked twice, I can undo this one only. Again, going back, if I cleaned all this up, and then I just destroyed the drawing, I'd have to undo all of that work again. So sometimes it's a good idea to release the mouse and just undo small sections. It's better to click more times and make sure you don't erase something you don't need to than to put in a whole lot of work of tediously erasing something just to have it messed up, and then you have to spend the time all over again. So just do sections at a time. I release there, and then now I can erase the door. This is all if I wanted to get rid of these. But now I have 3 separate undo spots. So we're going to go back over here, make sure that I didn't erase anything I didn't want to. Okay, the E was the last thing. There we go, clean that up. Okay, so over here, let's go ahead and say I'm going to erase this X. Let's go ahead and change the nib so that way it's smaller. Now I have a smaller nib, so I have more precision. I can erase this easy. That was one click, and that was another click. So if I needed to, I can undo that. But I'm going to redo it, and I'm going to get as close in as I can. And that's pretty dang good. And by some instances, if I really wanted to, I could go ahead and make it smaller. And we're going to say, let's do a 5. And I've zoomed in as far as I can at this point. You can actually see the grid of the pixels. With this, it's very important for more technical and detailed works, because there'll be times where I want to get just a single pixel out. And I can do that by going down all the way up to a 1 for a nib, and I can erase each individual pixel on its own level. And there. it's like it wasn't even there. You can't even really tell. I mean, you can, because it's off a little bit, but with that, there you go. It's perfect, for the most part. It's actually more clear than the rest of it, but we're going to go ahead and let it go. Okay, so this is office number 504, and like I said earlier, it's really not that clear. I can't read it very well. It's not very nice to look at. So what I'm going to do is I have two options. Either A, I can substitute my own text, or B, I can use their own text because of the fact that there's more than one office. Now there's not more than one 504 or the square footage, which makes things more interesting. So because there's more than one office, I can freely get rid of this office garbled up mess that's there. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to use a 10. And I'm just doing these based off of what I feel. I feel like 10 is a good number, so I put in 10, I check it, and then I use it if I feel like it's good. Okay, so I've effectively gotten rid of the office garbled up mess, and I like this office. This office is pretty clean. It's clean enough for me, at least in this instance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this over to here. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the clone tool. I'm going to come over here to the red eye removal tool, click and hold, and it'll open up this side panel. And I haven't let go of the mouse yet, because if I do, it'll stay open apparently. Okay, so if I just click, it'll only use the red eye tool. You even see the red eye tool brush settings opened up over there. Click and hold, and then you'll be able to either drag it over to the tool you want and let go, or you can just leave it there and then you're free to click wherever. We're going for the clone tool, so we're going to use the clone tool. It's now put the clone tool here as your default. Sometimes it'll be your default if you've been working on the same drawing for a while, or you reopen it as a bitmap again, or other things. So just like with the eraser tool, we have our nib shapes again. We can use square or circle. They have the same bothersome spray washing out. I really don't like those. So I'm going to go to the solid again. I'm going to set my size to whatever it wants to be. I want it to be 10, so I'm going to leave it here. You can also have other overlays. I typically don't do it. You can modify what comes out, but we'll get into that another time if we do it all. You can change the transparency of things. You can make it kind of feathered by blowing out the sides a little. And I have no idea what that is even, so I'm not going to mess with any of those. You don't need to mess with any of them, at least at this point in time. So our clone tool is kind of strange. What happens is when you first pick up the tool, you have one circle, just like the eraser. But what this is doing is you're going to select the area in this circle that you want to copy. Okay? So I'm going to click once. I'm going to left click once. There. Now you can see my nib is moving around, but this circle is still here blinking. You can even see it. There it is. You can even see it. It's selecting these pixels right here. So what I'm going to do is this other nib is showing me where I'm going to copy it to. So if I click, I have now clicked those pixels over. I'm going to move my mouse to show you that they're still right here. Now I can do other things. I can either keep clicking across, and you can see that where I'm copying has copied the whole word. Or again, just like with the eraser, I can hold it and just paint it across. And instead of painting white, I am now painting what I'm copying. Now what you see down here at the bottom is I'm looking at the left side of the screen right now. If you see right here at the bottom of this office that I've copied, it's actually copied this section over here at the top of the 503 that I don't want. So that's where choosing the right tool for the right size of tool for the job is important. But I don't need it here. I need it over there on the other side with the other 504 room. So I'm going to go ahead and undo this. Undo, 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 undo. And I'm going to start again. So I'm pretty much doomed at this little spacing. I can't do anything that's not here until I right click. When I right click, wherever my painting nib is at, the one without the cross in it, wherever that's at is where I will start again. So I'm going to right click on the O, okay, and my painting nib is now my copy spot. So now my copy spot is stuck there, back again on the office, but I'm going to set the distance to where I'm going to copy it to, which is my nib that I'm using right now. I'm going to left click over here because I want the office, the O in the office, to end up over here. So I'm going to click and hold because I'm confident that this is where I want, and I'm going to just paint across. I'm going to paint a little higher so I get the tops, and just a little lower just to be for sure. And there we go. I've used their own office to replace the bad office. And now I can do that with anything. Let's say this door gets erased for some reason, and I want this door again. So let's go ahead and erase the door. So the door gets erased. What do? Okay, so doors and things like that with straight lines are a little bit more complicated because you have to be more precise. I'm going to go back to my clone tool. It's going to set me up back again with just my one. I'm going to click on this bottom corner because it's easier to do bottom to top than right in the center or anywhere else. If you wanted to, you could even start here by following this line and saying, okay, this line intersects right in the middle. I'm going to start right here in the middle of this. So I've pretty much set that as close as I can to the middle. So I'm going to come over here. Again, I'm going to follow this line to where it intersects. And I'm going to click right about there because I'm confident that's about where it's supposed to be. So now I can paint my door up. I don't even have to look at it. You can see that you can't even see the copying portion of it. The copying portion is way over there on the right, and we're looking over here on the left. So I'm going to zoom back in because I know where this door is. I'm just going to keep painting up until I get to right about there. And this is where, again, it gets more complicated because you have to make sure your lines match up, or at least close enough. So I'm going to go right about there. You can see the lines don't match up exactly, but for all intents and purposes, it's pretty dang good. If I wanted to, I could keep painting all the way down, so that way the line goes all the way down and matches a little bit better here. And there we go. Bam, now I have my door. You can erase that or copy that out. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that now. So this wall here, I'm going to copy right about there. And this one, I'm going to copy right about there. And bam, we just replaced the whole door. So as long as you have one copy of something, you can completely replace anything else on the drawing. Walls, doors, pillars, labels, anything you see on this drawing can be moved anywhere else by using this technique, as long as it has a duplicate of itself in some way or form. Even if you have something backwards, you could say, you could even rotate it over an axis and make it the opposite side. We'll go over that in a later date. But right now, this is a way of cleaning up the drawing. All our marks are gone, and this is a clean drawing to start with. If I wanted to go in more detail, I could. I could erase all these little symbols on the walls. I could erase this hardware or electrical J-box for door hardware. I really don't care, though. It really doesn't bother me that much. So I'm just going to go ahead and save. Now, saving doesn't save everything. Saving saves what you're working on back to your CorelDRAW. Because remember, we started in CorelDRAW, brought it into Paint, and now we're working in Paint. In order for Paint to tell CorelDRAW that we're done, we have to save. If we don't save, we're going to lose everything. So we have to click Save. And what saving does, like again, like I said, we're going to go back to Draw, and it'll be done. It'll be updated. Okay? So, now we've gotten this. It's all clean. We've hit Save. Double check, make sure. It's the worst thing you can do is not hit save. Close it. It will not save a thing. You will have to do all that work again. Okay? And on the bigger drawings and 36 by 36 drawings or 24 by 36 drawings, it can get tedious when you do a lot of this pencil work erasing and you forget to save. Because then you got to start all the way over. So again, we have two sets of windows, you can think of it as. There's the inside window that you can see, and then the outside window you can't see. There's two sets of X's. This X down here that you can probably see is to close this drawing out. If we had more than one drawing open at once in this bitmap editor, we could close each of them out, or we can actually see multiple ones and work with them that way. But I don't need this drawing anymore, or this photo paint anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and close the whole thing. I've closed it, and now we're back to our draw. And you can see that big old drawing we had is now reduced to this tiny bit. It's the proper shape, it's the proper size, it's even rotated still. So we've gotten rid of the markings, and we're ready to start on actually making this drawing ours. So I'm going to go ahead and take the step to save my CorelDRAW, because my CorelDRAW is my actual project program. I need to save this. Otherwise, again, if we just close out of this, it'll give you an error saying, do you want to save or discard your changes, or cancel. But I want to save this because this is a good spot to stop. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. My drawing is now saving to the computer, and I'm ready to start actually working with it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue on the next video and talk about actually scaling the drawing and starting to work with it.